When it comes to transmission media, please understand, my dear students, you have two types. One is guided transmission media, another one is unguided transmission media. The data transmitting, whatever we are trying to transmit, is comparatively low. I have two different types of coaxial cable. One is thin net, another one is thick net, is what you need to remember. Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to the second session on computer networks. So hope you started watching the sessions on computer network. So guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please click on the subscribe button and please don't forget to click on the like button too. Alright, suppose if you have not watched the video of previous session, so let me give you the small recap for all of you before I start the session for all of you. Alright, what is that we have discussed? So we started with the concept, like, what is the definition of network? So we understood the basic definition of network, then followed by we understood what is the ARPANET is all about. So who started ARPANET? So why do we had ARPANET? Why we had ARPANET? Who was using it? All those things we have discussed in detail in the last class. It's all about the ARPANET. Alright. Then after that, what did we discuss? We started understanding the concept of internet too. Okay. After that, very interesting thing, intraspace. Let me talk about this. Let me just give you the recap of intraspace. What is intraspace? Please understand, our Zoom classes are nothing but that's an example for intraspace. That's what you need to remember. So fine, we discussed about the intraspace. What else we discussed? We spoke about data transmission rate. We spoke about data transmission rate. And also we spoke about the bandwidth. We spoke about the bandwidth. This is what we have discussed in session 1. That's what you need to remember. So we had a quick recap of what we have discussed in the session 1. So guys, let's start the session 2. Hopefully, okay, you will watch the complete video. Guys, it's very important. So go through the complete video what we have done. Alright, what we have for the day. I will be discussing how exactly we started communicating between two devices with the help of what. So that's what I will call it as a transmission medium. That's what I will call it as a transmission medium. So fine. After that, we have different types of transmission medium. That's what I will call it as a, we have twisted pair cable. Okay, that's what I will call it as a transmission medium. We started with a twisted pair cable and we have coaxial, we have optical fiber, and also we have infrared, laser, microwave, satellite, all those things I have. So I will be discussing that, in the coming sessions. Let's understand these things in detail in this session. What is that I have? Let's start. I have the transmission medium. What is transmission medium is what, let's try to understand. So for example, I have one computer and I have one more computer here. So both the systems are standalone machines. If I want to communicate, how do I send the data from this computer to this computer? Let's say, let me name this computers instead of using the word this computer and this computer. I have host A and I have host B. I will call this system as a host A, this computer as a host A, and this computer as a host B. Then if I want to send the data from host A to host B, how do I send the data? So with the help of a medium, I have to send the data. There should be some carrier to carry the data. So that is what I will call it as a transmission medium. I am transmitting the data from one system to another system is what I will call it as a transmission media. When it comes to transmission media, please understand, my dear students, you have two types. One is guided transmission media, another one is unguided transmission media. So I am going to discuss in today's session is all about the guided transmission medium. Alright, so let me start with the first one. So before that, let me just read out the points to all of you. By transmission media of communication channels of network, the connecting cables or connecting media are being discussed. That's what they're trying to discuss here. The cable that connects two or more workstations for the communication channels. That's what they're trying to explain here. They want to speak about the different connecting devices between the two hosts is what they call it as a transmission media. All right, let me check out what is the first one that we have for the day. We have a basket. In our basket, the first one that we have is twisted pair. What exactly twisted pair is all about? It's one of the oldest cable that we had. So we had two cables which is twisted like in the form of helical structure. All of you would have seen the DNA, right? DNA would have, DNA is something like this. You will see the DNA something like this. All right. So DNA is twisted in the form of helical structure. That is what you need to remember. In the same way, even our wires is twisted in the form of helical structure. The advantage of this twisted pair is I can transmit the data for a longer distance, but if you are transmitting the data for a longer distance, so the signal will not be like, with a full power. So you might lose out a lot of data. The signal strength will go for a toss if you are transmitting for a longer distance is what you need to understand when it comes to the twisted pair. We have two types of twisted pairs. One is unshielded twisted pair and shielded twisted pair. So before I discuss that, okay, so let me discuss the points that I have. So one of the oldest cable that we had is the first point. The twisted pair consists of two insulated copper wires. Please understand how many wires you have. Two insulated copper wires is what you need to remember. And third point, the wires are twisted together in a helical form. Helical form in the sense, if I say that word, the DNA should come to your mind. Alright, the twisting is done because two parallel wires consist of fine antenna. Twisting is done because, please understand, that's the main reason, because it consists of fine antenna. That's the reason. So we are twisting the wires. So fine. Twisted pair can run, very important point, twisted pair can run several kilometers without any amplification. I do not require any amplification to boost the signal, but please understand, but for a longer distance, the signal becomes too weak and repeaters are needed. Repeaters are needed. That's what you need to understand. That's the main drawback of a twisted pair. Let's get into the types of twisted pair now. The first type that I have is, please understand, UTP. Unshielded twisted pair. What exactly unshielded twisted pair? Imagine this is the wire, okay? This is the copper wire, okay? It's not shielded, it's not insulated, okay? This is the wire. So what will happen? Suppose if I have the wire like this, it is influenced. It will get a lot of disturbance from the external source, so that it will disturb the data it will disturb the signals what it is carrying. So please understand, if it is not insulated, if it is not shielded, that's what you need to observe, that's what you need to remember. If it is not shielded, so it will get directly affected from the external body, external source. It will have a chances of getting affected by the interference. So there is a chance of losing out a lot of signals that we are trying to send. Okay, that is a major thing that you need to remember when it comes to the unshielded twisted pair. Let's check out the points that we have here. UTP is the copper media inherited from the telephone. So we were using the same thing for the telephone as well, which is being used increasingly higher data rates. We used to transmit the data in a higher data rates, and then we were using this in the telephones. So we inherited the same thing here also. So that's the first point that you need to remember. UTP cable consists of, please understand, 2 to 4,200 twisted pairs. So UTP is flexible, low cost media. It can be suited for the voice or data communication. Yes, we got a lot of information here. What is that they are trying to explain? So we have UTP initial days, in initial days we were using it for a telephone, and then we started using it to transmit the data as well. We started using it to transmit the data as well in higher data rates. Fine, but please understand and please remember, when it comes to unshielded twisted pair, it's very, very important that you need to understand. So it's flexible, it's low cost. Why it is low cost? Because it is not shielded. You need to understand the meaning between the lines. So it's low cost because it is not shielded. Why it is not shielded? Why do we need shielded? Because if I have shielded, so guys, it will not get affected from the external interference. What is that external interference are you talking about, sir? Say for example, if the wire is carrying electrical signals, my data in the form of electrical signals, that is in the form of zeros and ones, if I create the magnetical field around that wire, so there is a chance of missing out the data, whatever I am carrying in that wire. So that's what I will call it as a interference, is what I will call. That's what I will call it as a interference. So that can be avoided if I have a extra coating layer. That's what I will call it as a shielded twisted pair. So whatever the drawback that I have here, it can be overcome in the next type that I have, that is shielded twisted pair. When it comes to the cost, when it comes to the safety of the data, so I prefer shielded twisted pair. Why, sir? Though the cost is little more than the unshielded twisted pair, whatever the data that I am sending is reliable when we compare to the unshielded twisted pair. Let's check what are the points that we have. This type of cable comes with shielding of individual pair of wires, which further protect it from the external interference. That's what we have already discussed. But this also, like UTP, can maximum segments length of 100 meters. What is the maximum meter that we can use? 100 meters we can use without using the repeater. After that, if you want to use that for a longer distance, you have to use the repeater to strengthen the signals whatever you are trying to transmit in that cable. So fine. The advantage of STP, please understand, I am using the word here STP, shielded twisted pair, over UTP, is that it gets offer greater protection from the interference and crosstalk due to the shielding. That's a important point that you need to remember, which I explained it recently. But it is definitely heavier and costlier than UTP and requires proper grounding at both the ends. Alright, this is what we need to remember when it comes to twisted pair. In this twisted pair, we have different versions of CAT cables. CAT 1, CAT 2, CAT 3, CAT 4, CAT 5. Recently, CAT 6 is also there. What does this CAT are? Category 1, Category 2, Category 3 is what they are trying to call it as. CAT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each category, it starts from Category 1. So in each category, they have improved the data transmission rate. The speed of sending the data, they have improved in each category, is what you need to remember. So fine, what is the next one that I have? So guys, the advantages of twisted pair, and also I have some of the disadvantages as I discussed. Let's check one by one. It's simple and easy to remember. It's simple and physically flexible if I use the twisted pair. Alright, it can be easily connected, so I don't have to do a lot of circuits to connect the twisted pairs if I am using it for my infrastructure. So it is easily installed and maintained fine. So it has got low weight. It is very inexpensive when it comes to unshielded twisted pair. slighter expensive compared to unshielded twisted pair is shielded twisted pair. The cost is little more when we compare to unshielded twisted pair for shielded twisted pair is what you need to remember here. But they are comparing this cost with other cables. When we compare this with other cables, it's quite inexpensive as what they are trying to explain at this point of time. Alright, I have disadvantages too for the twisted pair. The data transmission rate are very low. When we compare to all other cablings, the data transmitting, whatever we are trying to transmit, is comparatively low. So that's what you need to make a note of it. Suppose if you want to have a higher data transmission, so this is not your cup of tea. Alright, it is incapable to carry a signal over a longer distance without repeater. Again, if you are trying to transmit your data for a longer distance, so please, twisted pair should not be your option. And the last one, low bandwidth. So please make a note of all the advantages and disadvantages. So guys, this is all about the twisted pair that you need to remember. Moving forward to the next cable that I have, that's coaxial. So probably if I say the coaxial, I think all of you are familiar with this word and with this wire. If you are having a cable connection at your home, please go back to that cable and check. So that looks exactly. What is that? You have one strong copper wire in the middle, and then after that, so you have a dielectric shield above that, and also you have. So guys, this is the different layers that you can expect in this coaxial cable. Okay, let me just put this in front of you in an easy way. You have one copper wire. If you take a cable wire, like you will get one copper wire in the center, and then you will have a plastic coating for that, and then above that you will have a mesh covering, and you will have one foil cover, and then you will have an insulation above that. So why do we need to do all these things? What is the requirement of doing all these things for this coaxial cable? Alright, let's understand this in detail now. This type of cable consists of solid core surrounded by one or more foil or wire sheets. Yes, we know that, we have seen, each separated by some kind of plastic insulator. So each layer is separated by plastic insulator. So I told you in the beginning, so that wire, that copper wire, solid copper wire has got different layers. Each layer is separated by a plastic material, is what they are trying to explain in the first point. Alright, the inner core carries the signal and shields provides the ground. So your data is getting transmitted in that inner core copper wire. I repeat, your data is getting transmitted in the inner core copper wire, is what you need to remember when it comes to the concept of coaxial cable. Alright, the coaxial cable has high electric properties and it is suitable for high speed communication. So whenever you are planning for the high speed communication, the best one that they suggest as of now, I'll discuss the much more better than this, okay, in the coming slide. So the best one as of now, when we compare to the twisted pair, this is really good, is what they're trying to explain. Alright, while it is less popular than a twisted pair, it is widely used for television signals. We already know that, because in our house, everybody has got this cable, coaxial cable. All of you would have seen this. If not, please go back and check. So the cable, you will understand the different alignments what you have in the cable. So when it comes to this coaxial cable, we have two types of coaxial cable. One is thin net, another one is thick net. Okay, the main difference that you need to observe in this thin net and thick net is, so what is the distance that it can transmit the signals? When it comes to thin net, I can transmit 185. Okay, I can transmit 185 meters long. when it comes to thin net. But when it comes to thick net, I can transmit up to 500 meters is what you need to remember. That's the only point that you need to remember with respect to the different types of coaxial cable. I have two different types of coaxial cable. One is thin net, another one is thick net is what you need to remember. So fine. What is the next one that I have? Very beautiful, glass strands. Hope all of you are able to see this. So all of you would have seen the broomstick, right? Now, whatever the strands that you have, almost it looks the same, but instead of that material, we are using the glass strand. Why are we using this glass strand? The only challenge that I had whenever I'm transmitting the data, probably you would have observed a lot of shieldings. Now, whenever you're feeling cold, what do? You'll wear a lot of cloth, right? So why? Because the external climate should not affect my body. The same way, if I'm transmitting the data, that should not be disturbed by the external force. So to protect that, I will have a lot of insulation. So that was the main challenge for me if I was using the copper wire to transmit my data. You could have observed, now I was using the copper wire in both twisted pair as well as in the coaxial cable. So guys, when I started using the concept of fiber optics, what is the meaning of optics? So guys, already you would have studied. I don't have to explain that. You guys are master than me. What we are trying to do is we are using a concept of frequency modulation technique. So with the help of this, I am converting my data into sine waves. Is it? I'm converting my data into light. I'm converting my data into light with the help of FDM technique. Guys, if I convert my data into light from the sender side, again, my data is getting transmitted in the form of light. So light emitting diode is helping me here. So can you explain that in detail? Imagine this is my strand. Glass strand. So from this side, I'm sending the data. I'm converting all the electrical signals into light signals. So I'm transmitting the data in the form of light. Again, at the receiver end, I will decode that. And again, I will convert back the light into electrical signals. But when I'm using this, I will not have the drawbacks whatever I had whenever I was using the coaxial cable. So believe me, so all the interference problem whatever I had, so I eradicated with the concept of fiber optics. With the concept of fiber optics, there is no interference at all, and the speed what I am using, what I am getting with the fiber optics is the max now when we compare to other two cables what I had, that is coaxial cable as well as twisted pair cable. So you can expect up to 20 Mbps. If you will get more than that. But when we compare to the previous versions of twisted pair and coaxial cable, you have the better performance when it comes to the data transmission rate if you are using the fiber optics. But when it comes to the fiber optics, it is very, very difficult to repair the cable and very difficult for the installation. The major problem probably you would have observed if you have the fiber optic connection to your house. So you will have to reset your modems frequently. That's the major problem that we had. Along with that, the cost is little more when we compare to the previous technologies what we had. Yes, let's check what we had on the slide. So guys, optical fiber consists of thin glass strands. Yes, we have studied that. And the second one that we have is light source used to either light emitting diodes or laser diodes. Yes, we discussed that too. The transmitting the light rather than electrical signals emitting problem. Yes, we have discussed this also. They are speaking about the interference. We don't have interference. Optical fiber cable has the ability to transmit the signals over a much longer distance. You can transmit the data in highest speed when we compare to the coaxial cable as well as the twisted pair, and also you can transmit the data for a longer distance is what you need to remember with this point. The capacity to carry the information at vastly greater speed is one of the advantage that we should never forget with respect to the fiber optic cables. If I use fiber optic cable, it will not be complete if I don't say it is like, optical fiber cable. Both are same. People, some of you, some of the, quote it as a optical fiber, and some of the people will say fiber optics. Both exchange the same meaning. All right, let's check out the advantages of fiber optics or the optic fibers. It's immune to the electrical and magnetical interference. Yes, we know that. It's highly suitable for harsh industrial environment. Yes, and please understand that's very important. It guarantees the source transmission and has a very high transmission capacity. The meaning of this point is reliable is what you can understand. Whatever the data that you are trying to transmit is, it will reach for sure. Okay, so the data loss rate is comparatively less is what they're trying to explain. So it can be used for broadband transmission. All right, now the main part, it is difficult to install. It is difficult to install. Okay, expensive when compared to other guided media. Expensive when compared to other guided media is what you need to remember. All right, difficult to repair. Definitely, it's very difficult to join. When it get tampered, very difficult to join the fiber optic cables is what you need to remember. And please go back and check how are we getting the internet to the India, okay, and different parts of India. Guys, you can just Google it, like sea route of optic fibers. How exactly they are lying down the optic cables under the sea is what you can just type, and you can see the videos. A lot of videos on that, you will get it. So please go back and check. It's very interesting that all of you should see that. By saying this, guys, I have come to an end of the session. Please go back and check what is that I have discussed about the guided transmission media. So in the coming session, I will be discussing about the unguided transmission media. Guys, keep watching, keep waiting for me. So take care. Don't forget to like the video if you have liked it. Thank you very much. Bye bye.